What's up, everybody? It's Johnny, and I'm back today with more important information on the PPP loan. There are many questions related to the PPP loan, and I am here today to try to bring some clarity on all of these issues. I'm breaking down this video into 3 separate parts. The first part will be a basic review. The second part will be a detailed review on the full-time employee criteria to obtain loan forgiveness. And then the third part will be QuickBooks tips for keeping track of all of your PPP activity. As always, remember, this video is for informational purposes only, and it is critically important to consult with your PPP loan provider, as the bank issuing the funds will ultimately determine whether or not your expenses are eligible for loan forgiveness. All right, let's start with the basics. Here are the 3 basic criteria that must be met to maximize PPP loan forgiveness. First, after the funds are received, you have an 8-week period to use funds on eligible expenses, including both eligible payroll costs and eligible non-payroll costs. Second, the 75-25 rule. I have a video detailing this rule, but just as a reminder, in order to obtain maximum loan forgiveness, 75% or more of your loan funds must be used on eligible payroll costs. No more than 25% of your loan costs are to be spent on non-payroll costs if you are looking to obtain full loan forgiveness. And the third basic criteria, the number of staff and level of payroll must be retained. Please stay tuned as I break down this rule in further detail later in this video. Before I get into that detailed breakdown, I want to mention something that I think is really important related to the PPP funds, and it specifically deals with the 8-week period issue and how many businesses are not able to fully operate during this 8-week period. The 8-week period following the receipt of funds is an issue for businesses that are unable to normally operate during this 8-week period. The question is, do you pay yourself and your employees' salaries just to satisfy the 75% rule, despite not operating at full capacity? This is a big question. The concern with taking this approach is that you may expend or use up all of your PPP funds during this 8-week period prior to your business getting back to normal operations. This is an issue because many businesses, for example, dental practices and other businesses which accept insurance or credit, have a time delay between providing a service and then actually receiving payment for that service. The major concern is that once the PPP funds are used, you may find yourself in a position where you are operating and providing services but waiting to receive payment. If this happens, how will you pay your staff during this delay while you're waiting for your payment to actually come in? This is something that you need to consider during this 8-week period. Please consult with your own accountant or accounting professional about this issue to devise a plan to overcome these problems. The second part of this video is that I want to get into some common questions related to full-time equivalent criteria for obtaining loan forgiveness. Okay, the first question that I get is, how will the full-time equivalent be calculated? So this is a super complicated issue, as there's no clear guidance for every single bank. So this goes back to one of the first things that I said, is that you need to get in touch with whoever lended you the PPP funds for their specific definition on what describes a full-time, or what makes a full-time equivalent employee. But as I've mentioned before, I am a CPA and I work with many practices and businesses. So in the description below, I will provide you with my 5 tips on how to calculate a full-time equivalent. The next common question I get is, what period do I use to determine my full-time equivalent number? The number of full-time equivalents during the 8-week period will be compared to the lesser of February 15th to June 30th, 2019, or January to February 2020. If the number of full-time equivalents during the 8-week period after you receive your funds is less than one of those 2 time periods, loan forgiveness should be reduced proportionately. The next common question is, how much do I need to pay my staff during this 8-week period to maximize loan forgiveness? In order to obtain full loan forgiveness, employees' earnings cannot be reduced by more than 25% during the 8-week period from the date the loan funds are received, compared to the most recent full quarter of employment prior to the loan. Also, remember, employees who earn more than $100,000 are not included as they are capped at $100,000. The last common question that I want to address is, what about this June 30th rule? My understanding is that you have until June 30th to satisfy the full-time equivalent condition. However, there are some details in the fine print that may impact forgiveness on this specific issue. So please, again, check with your PPP lender for additional details that are specific to the bank which you obtained your PPP loans from. Okay, we've now reached the third and final part of this video. I want to go over some important QuickBooks tips to account for your PPP loan activity. Remember, it is important that in order to obtain loan forgiveness, you remain as organized as possible and keep clear and detailed records related to all of your PPP activity. Okay, I personally suggest setting up a bank account for the PPP funds, setting up a liability account for the deposit of the PPP proceeds, and setting up specific expense accounts to categorize eligible PPP costs, such as payroll, rent, utilities, and mortgage interest. I will include links in the description below to assist you in adding accounts to desktop QuickBooks as well as online QuickBooks. Okay. You have just absorbed a ton of information related to the PPP loan. Remember, keep clear, detailed records and talk to your accountant and PPP lender for specific information related to your specific situation. Again, as always, I hope you stay healthy, I hope you stay sane, and I cannot wait to see you all soon.